So just like an intro for anybody that we've not met yet. My name is Bernhardt. I've been working at VMware for 12 years, and leading to that, done a lot of stuff. We'll obviously be drinking beer grease next, so we can talk about other things that I'm interested in, namely rubber chickens. And stop by Grease and you will get one. This presentation is kind of a high-energy, ad hoc, organic, non-linear but linear presentation that I've been doing for years and evolving it as our product lines evolved. And one of the points I'd like to make is we have to keep, or not keep, but it's always good to go back to the beginning and build forward to see what the next step is. I do this presentation in front of executives in our briefing center. I do it for our new hires. I do it for people who've seen our stuff already and they think they know it, and they do know it. And I say, but we're going to go back to the beginning anyways and build forward, because there's things that you need to see how they're put together along the way to build us from what's a virtual machine to what is a cloud. So it's a soup to nuts presentation, virtual machine to cloud. We're going to go through the entire stack in an hour. And I'm going to build that for you and show you that it's real. That's a very important point. I jokingly say, I started to add on to this, basically, there's a virtual machine, and there's cloud, and if you've seen this cartoon, if I spelled happy, or whatever, I spelled happy, whatever. If you've seen the Far Side cartoon, the professors at the board, some people think of it this way. It's like, okay, what's this cloud thing? It has no meaning to me other than what all the buzzwords you give me. I want to give you brick and mortar. I want to build it from the ground up, and I want to show you why virtualization gives us cloud. So I'm going to start, and I call this presentation the bullseye presentation. The reason why I call it bullseye presentation is because I like to start at the center of our universe, if you will, with a bullseye, and the center of that bullseye has two things. One, what I like to say is the most important thing to virtualization, a happy user. People tend to forget that. They start talking about the technology. And the second thing, and I draw my virtual machines square with a little cross on it, that's the network card, the virtual machine. That's the center of our virtual universe here. And the idea behind the bullseye is, as we draw concentric circles around this, we investigate what it is about virtualization that brings us to the solutions out here. And I start with what's a virtual machine, that question, which we're going to answer, and I go forward with what are the properties of virtualization that gives us the solutions of virtualization, what's a platform for virtualization that aims in the direction of our solutions of virtualization, and then we move out and we say, all right, well, what are these solutions? And the arrow goes off the board, because you can just keep going and drawing that bullseye outwards. So this is what we're going to discuss, and then I'm going to build it for you on the whiteboard here. So, you're late! Yeah, it's high school. I'm going to give you your...
Is this the auditorium?
This is the auditorium. It's huge. Good number of people in here, though. We'll get more. So, let's start with that first question. What is a virtual machine? Again, stuff that you know already. We'll start slow. We'll build forward into that cloud thing. So, virtual machine, I'm not even going to go to virtual machine. I'll start the way I always start. There's user, a happy user, in front of their computer. And their computer has a network card, processor, memory, and disk. That's how I draw these things. And user, network card, processor, memory, disk, keyboard, mouse, all that stuff, monitor, whatever. The bottom line is, this is what they know, the physical computer. These are the resources inside the computer they know. And all they know, if we look at it conceptually, is that that computer has those resources, processor, memory, disk, network, and some operating system running on it, and then something like Internet Explorer, Word, what have you, and that's it. That's all they know. And that's, when you sit in front of your physical computer, you do your job, and blah, blah, blah. This isn't virtual, but what happens is, moving this forward fairly quickly, is if we give you VMware Workstation, which was our first software back in 1998, we say, well, here's this little piece of software that we can put on here called VMware Workstation, and VMware Workstation gives you the ability to create these things called virtual machines, and these virtual machines have a virtual processor, a virtual memory, virtual disk, virtual network card, and that virtual box is quite simply a logical box defined by our software that does the same thing as a physical computer, but it just so happens that that virtual machine has to, when it wants to do its job, have its resources mapped through these layers to actually use the physical resources when it needs to do its job. When it's not doing its job, it's just sitting there. Okay? But when it needs to do its job, we have to play a game here where we say, hey, generic all-purpose operating system, get out of the way. It's this virtual machine's turn to actually use these resources. And if I have multiple virtual machines running in this environment, we have to play this game where, hey, it's your turn to use these resources, it's your turn to use these resources, it's your turn to use these resources, like kids on a playground. What happens here is these virtual machines, they're real computers. They do a real job when they get their turn to use physical resources. And so each one of these virtual machines is a logical box with logically defined hardware inside of it. It's a real computer, does a real job, gets its turn to use the physical resources. Each one of these virtual machines can have its own operating system inside of it. You know, Windows, Linux, whatever we support, XP, 7, you know, Red Hat, what have you. And each one of these guys, if you zoom in on it, becomes a real computer to you using it. And I like to say zoom in on it because when you look at the big picture, you go, okay, there's all this stuff going on. I'm just worried about what's going on here. So if I zoom into that virtual machine and I see what you've presented me, I see that you've given me this logical computer, this box that is a computer, it's real, and I don't compare a virtual machine to real, because it is real, I compare it to physical. So don't make that mistake when you're talking to other people that you're trying to teach this stuff to. Say, no, virtual is real, it does a real job. Now, this architecture that I show right in front of you here, that started at the very beginning of all this, is known as the hosted architecture. This is the architecture of Workstation, VMware Player. This is the architecture that I could walk up to you with a laptop, and I could open it up and say, here's Windows 7 running on my laptop. Now here's Windows XP running this out of a virtual machine. Here's Windows 2000. Here's a Linux virtual machine, what have you. And a great solution for a developer needing multiple computers, and they don't have multiple computers, but they have multiple virtual machines in front of them. Great solution for home use. I cracked a joke when I do this presentation. How many of you have ever given out a virtual machine for Christmas? Anybody? I have. Okay, my neighbors brought their physical computer to me and they said, hey, it's crashing, it's blue screening, all these windows pop up on it, and I said, do your kids play games on those computers online? And they're like, yes, they do. And I'm like, do you do your personal finances on the same computer? And they're like, yes, we do. And I'm like, oh. And I said, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to take your physical computer, I'm going to re-image it. Funny thing was, it was from Germany, and so the re-imaging stuff was all in German, so I had to go translate everything. I'm going to re-image it for you, and I'm going to put this software called VMware Workstation on it. This is back in the early 2000s. Now, like I said, we have VMware Player, which is a free version of Workstation with a lot less bells and whistles. But I said, I'm going to build for you these things called virtual machines. And on this virtual machine, you're going to do your personal finances. And on this virtual machine, your kids are going to play their games. And if they get viruses, we're going to just teach you how to delete that virtual machine and copy the original virtual machine that I made for you. And on this third virtual machine, if you want to do risky internet browsing, do whatever you want. I don't care. You know, I want to know. But the bottom line is, they got it. And no joke, their next words to me about that were not how much does it cost. They said to me, hey, can we buy stock in your company? So I was like, okay, you guys get it. So I just want to drive that point home, because as I go through this quickly, the little stick figure over here, the happy user, one of the things I like to say is everything in this presentation, especially for you who know this stuff already, my stories, my metaphors, everything, steal from me. use these things that I say to you to describe this to other people, so that when you walk out of here, you're trying to describe virtualization to them from virtual machine all the way to cloud, which is, we've got 50 minutes to get to. It's going to be a fast talk. But the bottom line is, like I said, steal my metaphor, steal my stories, steal how I put it together, and make it your own, put your own stories in there. Help yourself understand it, but then help the people around you understand it, so that when you're in the office, trying to describe this to your boss, or trying to describe it to management and say, this is why we need these things, and here's how it all works. That's my point for building from the ground up again. All right, so there we go. That's a platform for virtualization called Workstation. It's called a hosted platform because it already has this box here, this green box, a pre-existing generic all-purpose operating system in it, in this case called Windows. And that box, that hosted operating system there, that hosted platform, basically says I can give you virtual machines with VMware Workstation running on this generic all-purpose operating system, but I don't have control of the hardware. Windows has control of the hardware. And so when it comes to these virtual machines using that hardware, that Windows operating system, that generic all-purpose operating system, isn't designed to know virtualization. That your turn game to get the virtual machine down to the physical hardware, to give it its turn to do its job, isn't very well done on a hosted platform, such that you can't give virtual machines performance guarantees. I can say it's your turn, it's your turn, it's your turn, but I can't say for how long it's your turn. Or if you say you want to use the entire physical platform, I'll use an example. How many of you have gone to a web browser and something happened and your whole system just went, and your processor went up to 100%, and you can do nothing on your computer at that point? That's because this operating system, Windows in this case, was designed to do everything, work with lots of processes, and doesn't do the best job of saying, okay, this process is picking up the processor, and the others need their turn, but sorry, the whole system's going to freeze up on you. So if I have a virtual machine that's running, and that virtual machine decides it's going to pick out the processor down here, it's going to do the same thing to the entire box as well. So the hosted platform, where we don't have control of the hardware, it's a great solution for in front of you when you can keep track of a small number of virtual machines. But if I try to stick that in a data center, it's not going to fly. It's not going to work because we can't give performance guarantees of virtual machines. So remember that, because that's going to be a key point when we move to the native architecture, or the raw architecture. But I'm going to come back to our chalkboard here, and I'm going to start asking the question, what are the properties of virtualization that gives us the solutions of virtualization? One of those properties is hardware independence, and that simply means that, hey, if this virtual machine is a box that you've defined for me, a logical box, you can stick, VMware can stick whatever it wants inside this virtual machine, whatever hardware it wants, and it will be independent of the underlying physical hardware. What that means is the drivers to the physical hardware is handled by this operating system. Up here, it's a logical box. We can give it whatever it wants. And so if we're smart, we're going to make the virtual machine with a very singular set of hardware, so that the virtual machine doesn't have to play all kinds of driver games when you start putting operating systems in it. And so we're going to keep this mostly consistent. The processor is processor. It's x86 processor. Disk controller, memory is memory. Don't have to worry about that. Network card can be different. I could have a Intel network card down here, Broadcom network card. I don't care. I'm going to put a VMware network card up here. Or initially it was an NVIDIA network card. But the bottom line is the virtual machine is independent from the underlying platform, so that I could just take this virtual machine and run it on another laptop as long as Workstation's running on it. And that laptop could literally have Windows down here, and this laptop could be Dell, and this laptop over here could be HP. It doesn't matter because the virtual machine is independent of the underlying hardware. So hardware independence, and I've just put HDWE independence. Another property of virtualization that gives us the solutions of virtualization is isolation. Now this one's fun in that what we're saying is these two virtual machines running side by side on the same physical platform, when they're doing stuff, there's processes going on here in the processor, and there's also sections of memory inside this virtual machine that are down here in memory. They're literally mapped through those layers to the physical memory. That's the only way the virtual machine can get the job done. When we say isolation, we say that if you have two virtual machines running side by side on the same physical platform, they're isolated from each other in a virtual sense, the same way two physical computers would be isolated on a rack of servers. And we've done such a good job of that that the NSA, various security agencies, have tried to hack literally between two virtual machines through our VM workstation and our subsequent hypervisor, which we'll get to. They couldn't do it. And that was years ago, and they still can't do it. They still can't hack between virtual machines. Typically, if you hear about a security concern with virtual machines, between two virtual machines, it's because somebody networked them together out here. I mean, that's no different than two physical computers on the same network. If they're on the same network, you can immediately have networking security issues. So isolation says, again, two virtual machines side by side on this platform. It's as if you had two physical servers in a rack, physically separated from each other, and the only way that we'd be talking to each other is if you network them together. So that's property number 2, and I've just put a big I here to keep things moving along, isolation. Third property of virtualization that gives us solutions to virtualization is partitioning. So I just put a big P there for partitioning. All that says is, look, there's physical hardware, you've got multiple virtual machines running on that physical hardware. Those virtual machines are going to get their turn on that physical hardware. So the net result is you're partitioning the hardware up amongst the virtual machines. And I put that in quotes because what we're going to discover here is the physical hardware can be treated as a fluid resource, like a puddle, where each virtual machine gets its turn, gets its turn, gets its turn, but hey, if you need more of a turn and you need less of a turn, we can just kind of adjust it and make sure you get what you need and you get what you need eventually on our other platform that I haven't gotten to yet. So that's a very fluid thing. But we're also going to discover that I can look at the physical resources and just say, no, you get dedicated resources. I'm going to take a butcher knife and I'm going to chop up this physical server, make sure you have your piece to run your virtual machine, make sure you have your piece to run your virtual machine. So again, the net result is I can partition up my resources amongst my virtual machines. Now, key selling point virtualization years ago, and it's still true today, with that property of virtualization is simply consolidation. If I can walk into your data center and you have 100 physical servers and I say, realistically, I can cut that number down by 2/3 to say 30 physical servers and make 100 virtual machines in those 30 physical servers. The other 60, maybe they're old, you want to get rid of them, maybe you want to repurpose them, use them as another cluster for virtualization. That's a possibility. You get rid of them, you save heating, air conditioning, electricity, the whole 9 yards. So just the concept of being able to pack a bunch of virtual machines in a smaller number of servers is really attractive to people. In a small data center, again, just the notion that, hey, I have the need for X number of operating systems, but I don't have the money to buy a bunch more physical servers. Well, I'm not even using all the resources on these physical servers. Why don't I just pack a bunch of virtual machines on these physical servers and realize some savings there and be able to get my job done on whatever it is that I was trying to do. The last property of virtualization that I like the most is, just say, big E, encapsulation. And that's the notion that this virtual machine is represented logically up here in conceptual space as a little box, but down here in the physical space it has to manifest itself somehow. If it's powered on, well, it's going to be using processor and memory, but if it's powered off, it has to be something. So it has to be a set of files down here on this hard disk. And therefore the virtual machine is encapsulated as that set of files. Now here's the trick. The two main files for virtual machines are the VMX file and the VMDK file. There's other support files that go on while you're running the virtual machine to keep it up and running. But these two files, the .vmx file and the .vmdk file, with names in front of them, define what is the virtual machine and what's inside of it, and then defines the disk. So the .vmx file simply says, look, I'm a text file that says I'm a virtual machine, I have 2 processors, I have a network card, maybe I have 2 network cards, and the workstation, I even have a sound card, a video card. So if you read me, it's no different than me handing you a spreadsheet and says, here, go to the lab and build this physical computer for me. Well, if I hand you the VMX file, VMware software is going to read that and say, oh, I will build that virtual machine with those things inside of it. And one of those things just so happens to be a disk, the VMDK file. Now the VMDK file, get this whole concept of mapping down, the disk inside the virtual machine is mapped through these layers to the VMDK file. The VMDK file on the physical disk is just that, it's just a big file. I'm not going to get into the games we play with the size of that file. All I'm going to say, in the interest of brevity here, is that if you have a 10 gigabyte disk up here, chances are you're going to have a 10 gigabyte file down here. So here it's a file, there it's a disk, and all we're doing is playing games. We read the VMX file, say build a virtual machine with these things, and we say one of those things happens to be a disk. We can say here virtual machine, have a disk. Go down to the VMDK file, that becomes a disk inside the virtual machine. Establish tunnel vision, like I said, inside the virtual machine. You don't care about all that. All you see is the virtual machine, processor, memory, disk, and network, and you're an operating system inside the virtual machine. You don't know about all these games that we're playing behind the scenes to make all this happen. So encapsulation is one that I get excited about because, again, this is our, well, I didn't say this yet, but this is our bread and butter. If I can put these files on a USB drive and lock them in a safe, I just back it up on laptops, virtual machines, and that makes me very happy. And it's very easy to do that. If I can move these files over to another platform, I can run that virtual machine there. If I can copy those files over and over again, I just literally made multiple copies of the virtual machine. So there's all kinds of games you can play here to instantaneously spawn virtual machines in our virtualized environment. Now, got to move at lightning speed. I told you that the key point of the host, or the key weakness of the hosted architecture is the inability to give performance guarantees for these virtual machines, because the generic all-purpose operating system here doesn't know virtualization, doesn't know how to do the your turn, your turn, your turn thing. So what we need to do here is we need to replace this architecture with, should have brought that up, throw it out there. We need to replace this architecture with what we invented in circa 2001, ESX server, where we take that hardware and we say, look, here's your physical computer, here's a processor, here's memory, and 2 processors, here's disk, here's network, and rather than put a generic all-purpose operating system on that hardware, let's put this little thin binary that runs, we're going to call that the VM kernel. That's what we call it, but the industry calls that the hypervisor. This is what ESX is. It's a hypervisor. So ESX is our product name. VM kernel is this binary that runs in the physical hardware. And the VM kernel's sole job is to be Atlas. It says, I own that physical hardware and I hold up worlds for you. It just so happens that those worlds are actually virtual machines. So, there's a virtual machine, there's a virtual machine, there's a virtual machine. And literally, the processes that run in the VM kernel are called worlds. That's what we've called them for years. In teaching the class, it's not a process, it's a world. If it's the VM kernel running this process here. The bottom line is the VM kernel says, I know physical, I can abstract that, and I can give you virtual, and I can do this mapping of physical to virtual resources, I should say virtual to physical resources, and I can do that performance game of your turn, your turn, your turn on a playground, and I know I'm doing it. I'm not just some generic all-purpose operating system that just says, you want it all, here, take it, the rest of you forget it, or your laptop's just going to slow down. But the VM kernel says, hey, I know how to play the your turn, your turn, your turn game with these resources so that each of these virtual machines can have a performance guarantee to a percentage point with these resources down here. And I, as the VM kernel, can play games with these resources, not just the your turn, your turn, your turn game. I can play other games with these resources whereby I can give performance guarantees for networking. I can give performance guarantees for disk I/O. I can give, like I said, chop up your server with a butcher knife if you want to, and make sure that there's always some physical memory dedicated to a particular virtual machine, or a processor dedicated to a virtual machine, or a percentage of a processor dedicated to a virtual machine. That's my job. As the VM kernel, my job is to turn your physical server into an aircraft carrier. Now, what's the purpose of an aircraft carrier? Haul airplanes. So, we're going to turn our physical server into hauling virtual machines just like an aircraft carrier would haul airplanes. That's the point. We take all of your physical servers in a data center, turn them all into aircraft carriers, and now you can, just be having your virtual machines flying around your data center. Another analogy here is I've turned your physical server into a puddle of resources for your virtual machines to leverage or float around on. I say puddle because later on we're going to combine puddles together to give us a giant pool that will turn into our eventual cloud. So one of the games of the resources that we can play in this puddle, just for an example, is, if I have two virtual machines with two virtual processors mapped to the same physical processor, and they both get hot, I can either chop the processor up and say, well, you get the processor X percentage and you get the processor X percentage, or I can literally just say, hey, virtual machine, your virtual processor is just going to be remapped over to this physical processor. You don't know what's happening, but I, the VM kernel, can get in here and play games like that with the resources under the hood at the physical layer. So that's cool because, again, I can look at this more as fluid, resources that I can just map my virtual to physical, and I can let the VM kernel do its job and just keep everything fluid, or I can come in here as a user, as almost like a conductor of an orchestra, and I can say, no, I know what's going on here, and I know that this is an Exchange server, and at 8 in the morning it gets hammered, so I basically wanted to have X processing power, X memory, physical processing power memory at all times. To the point where I could run out of physical resources for the number of virtual machines that's on here, but that's okay because I can always build another ESX server over here and just copy the virtual machines over and be running my virtual machines over in this ESX server. Okay, that's fine and dandy. You gave me ESX. And if I start filling my data center with ESX servers, that's great. Okay, I have multiple virtual machines. I'm reaping the benefits of consolidation, physical to virtual. But it starts to get messy after a while. How do I manage this? Well, for lack of room, get rid of this. Get back to our happy user over here. Happy user being you and IT are running the VI client up here on the network on your desktop, and you have your ESX servers attached to that network. And eventually you get one too many ESX servers attached to that network, and you're like, I have to manage everything with these individual connections to the VI client, so on and so forth. It builds after a while, and eventually it gets kind of overwhelming, and you say to me, well, hey, VMware, is there some way you can automate this? And the principle I want to drive home here is what I call manual, automatic, manual, automatic, manual, automatic, manual, automatic. You come to us and say, hey, you gave me this new technology that we can do some really cool new stuff with, and we're doing it, and we're reaping the benefits. But we've discovered a whole bunch of new things that we can do, and we're doing them manually. And now that's getting overwhelming. Can you automate that? And we say, well, yes, we can. And then 6 months later, a year later, you come back and you say, you know that new automation you gave us? Well, now we're doing all these even newer things that we didn't think of before. Can you automate that? That's been the evolution of our software throughout the last 10, 12 years. So first thing we're going to automate is, all right, you got to manage all these ESX servers. Let's put a front door to our virtualized data center and call it vCenter server. vCenter server is going to talk on the same network, and vCenter server is going to say, well, look, I'm the front door to your virtualized data center here, and you tell me, you come to me, and I will give you a view of all these ESX servers and all these virtual machines and all the resources between them, and you tell me what you want, tell me what you want to see, and I'll do it for you. Now, I become the foreman of the factory here, the virtualization factory. So that gives us the ability to see and manage things globally in our infrastructure. But then we start thinking, it's like, well, we still have separate ESX servers, and that's fine and dandy, and you have these puddles of resources, but what can you do for me to make this even more fluid? How can we start combining these puddles into a pool of resources so I can just look at my entire data center as just this giant pool of resources for my virtual machines to float around on? Well, we've already started the process. Part of the process is we've got shared networking between ESX servers. Another part of the process is each one of these ESX servers initially starts with localized storage, and if your virtual machines are stored on this localized storage, if this one of these ESX servers crashes, well, of course, everything on this ESX server crashes with it. So the idea is we want to share that physical storage between those ESX servers so that now they all see the same thing. And bear with me here, this is kind of a challenge with our most awesome whiteboard here. So if I draw a big circle down here, that's going to be a storage area network. A whole bunch of disks tossed together in a bunch of boxes, and they're networked to the rest of our computers such that these ESX servers don't need localized storage anymore. You can still have it, but ideally what you're going to have is shared storage between these ESX servers so that a virtual machine here, represented, this disk represented by the green dot, the files that make up the virtual machine are down here in a shared storage so that this ESX server sees the files and says, I'm going to run this virtual machine. And if for some reason this ESX server crashes, you can come in and say, well, I'm going to go to this ESX server. Actually, I'm going to go through a virtual SIM to this ESX server and power on a virtual machine here and go right back up and running. Fine and dandy. Shared storage, shared networking. Over the years or months or whatever, you're like, hey, VMware, that's really cool. That's like a way to recover very quickly from a failure of a server. I can just power my virtual machines on elsewhere. Manual, automatic, manual, automatic, manual, automatic. Hey, VMware, I got a ton of ESX servers, and I don't want to do that anymore if I have a ESX server that crashes. Can you automate that process for me? And VMware says, well, yes, I can. And basically, VMware says, you got this virtual center as a foreman to your virtualization factory, and you got all these ESX servers here. And tell you what, he can talk to the ESX servers and say, hey y'all, parents of your virtual machines, I need you to watch each other's backs. And I need you to act as godparents to the virtual machines. So that if one of you dies, the other godparents are going to take on those virtual machines automatically. So if this guy goes down, this guy will say, oh, I will just read his files down here on the storage area network and power him up automatically. Or, I know these are kind of morbid references, but if this guy goes infirm, meaning if he has a network problem or just some issue, he doesn't crash completely, these guys can still take on that virtual machine before something bad happens, before this ESX server goes down. So that's called high availability. If we go back to our bullseye over here, we're like, okay, that's just one more solution based on the properties of virtualization. So manual, automatic, you got your properties of virtualization, you start to build the solutions. So we got high availability to cover business continuity, disaster recovery of a localized ESX server. And on a side note, I believe Josh Leipster or Mike Laverick's going to talk about SRM, Site Recovery Manager, in another session, where he looks at the entire data center, failing one data center over to another, not just failing one ESX server over to another. It takes advantage of the property of encapsulation again, but at a much larger level, where you're taking the entire SAN and replicating it between buildings. And then saying, hey, these ESX servers go down, these ESX servers and virtual machines go up. Or tornadoes already hit. I've already got my SAN replicated, I'll power everything on over here, and I'm right back up and running in a different building. Alright, so high availability is just one of the bells and whistles solutions that comes from our properties of virtualization. And we've started to build our pools here. And we start to say, oh wait, I got shared networking, got shared storage, so storage becomes kind of a pool of resources. But we got processor and memory on these ESX servers that we have to figure out, well, how does processor and memory turn into a pool of resources for our virtual machines to float around on? Well, 2003, 2004 timeframe, I think it was, after we'd introduced Virtual Center, one of our developers, I believe he was at the story, he like wanted to bed one night, and he was just kind of laying there, and he was like, that's kind of a cool thing I could do. And he came back in the next day and he told Mendel Rosenblum about it. And Mendel was like, ding, do it now. This is really cool. And what he thought of was, if I could take the running state of memory inside this virtual machine, which is, yes, mapped to some physical memory here on our ESX server, if I could take that memory while the virtual machine's running and pump that memory over the wire between physical servers and start populating the memory on this physical server, while the memory is static, there's things changing here at the same time, so I'll pump as much of the static memory over as I can quickly, and then keep track of the changes, and then pump more static memory, so that eventually I get down to there's no memory over here anymore, the memory's over here, and then I quickly say, virtual machine, you're not running there anymore, your processes are now running here on this physical server. I've just given you vMotion. That's all it is. The virtual machine's running on one physical box, and you say, hey, pump all the running memory over the other physical box over the wire. Virtual machine's running on the second box. Of course, y'all in the industry will love it because you're like, great, I can take my physical server down for maintenance in the middle of the day, and nobody knows because the virtual machine, I just simply vMotioned it over to this physical box. Or multiple virtual machines over to other physical boxes in my data center because of that vMotion thing. The other thing that you started to do when we gave you vMotion was you start to look at your entire aggregate of servers in a cluster as just processor and memory, the pool of processor and memory. And you started to say, well, if I keep track of my servers and what's happening on my servers, I can literally load balance my virtual machines across them. I just start moving my virtual machines back and forth between servers. And with this vMotion thing, that makes me very happy because now it becomes a resource game. Maybe I don't have enough money to buy another physical server, but that's okay. I can move my virtual machines around and kind of load balance wisely. Maybe I do have enough money to buy another physical server and stick it in there. Great, now I can start moving some virtual machines off of my already patched servers. Automatic, manual, manual, automatic, automatic, manual, manual, automatic. Hey VMware, can you automate that for me? Why, yes we can. We came along and we said, here's this thing called DRS, Distributed Resource Scheduling. DRS, I used to say that it was vMotion on steroids and vMotion with brain, but now I say DRS is the brain of vSphere that leverages or uses vMotion to give you performance guarantees at the entire data center level. Meaning, if I'm looking at these physical servers as just a big pool of processor and memory, and these virtual machines can float around on that pool by vMotion, well, I can logically start to carve that pool up into resource pools with X amount of processor and X amount of memory, and I can carve those resource pools into smaller resource pools with X amount of processor and X amount of memory. Okay, they have more than what I have down here, but I can start to logically look at the total amount of processor and memory and make those logical resource pools and literally see in Virtual Center a view with a circle that says this is a resource pool with X amount of processor and memory. This resource pool is guaranteed this amount of processor and memory, and you can run your virtual machines in this resource pool and know that those virtual machines will always be guaranteed that amount of processor and memory as an aggregate. In these other resource pools, you can do the same thing. Well, if you can do that, then you can say, hey, I think I'll put all my Exchange virtual machines in this resource pool so that I'm guaranteeing resources as a whole for all my Exchange virtual machines. And I'll put my print servers in this resource pool over here and give them last, or start playing games where it's like, I'll tell you what, this resource pool can grow if needed, Or maybe I'm just going to lock it and I'm going to say, I'm not going to guarantee you anything other than if there's a problem, then I'll give you something. Right? At that point, the resource pool just becomes like a way for you to keep track of what's in it. So in Virtual Center, you start to see these little circles popping up with virtual machines inside of them. And that's all we're doing is saying, look, take a cluster of ESX servers, look at them as one giant resource pool, start carving those pools up into smaller pools, and putting your virtual machines inside of them so that now you can start looking at not just guaranteeing performance on one physical server, you're starting to guarantee performance across your cluster or across your virtualized data center. And your processor and memory now becomes part of our pooling of resources here. So DRS says, oh, well, if I'm supposed to give these performance guarantees, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to use a mechanism of vMotion to start moving virtual machines around behind the scenes to make sure that those logical pool guarantees are met. So DRS is just a brain that uses the mechanism of vMotion to give us those resource pools and give us those performance guarantees at a data center level. Pool storage, shared networking, resource pools with vMotion and DRS, and we start to realize that our data center has now just become the big pool of resources that we need for our virtual machines to float around on. This is where it gets fun. However, I am going to jump into networking here. Typically I don't with the executives and the new hires, because the new hires are new and a lot of them are on the sales side of the house, and it gets a little bit technically, nitty-gritty for them. And the executives, they don't know what they're talking about, so just joking. Now, actually, they appreciate it when I get into this stuff, because sometimes the executives get all the salesy stuff. When I go here and say, no, our stuff is real, this is nuts and bolts, how you build your product, they go, okay, now I get it. So, networking. Networking in a nutshell is, in this hypervisor, I build these virtual switches. And all a switch is, all a network switch is a table of MAC addresses. And a table of MAC addresses on a switch in a closet says, hey, there's a network card with a unique MAC address, there's a network card with a unique MAC address. I keep a table of all these MAC addresses, and I just route traffic between my ports that have these MAC addresses on them. That's all a physical switch does. So that's all we have to do in a hypervisor to create a virtual switch, is to look at the virtual network cards and their MAC addresses, look at the physical network cards and their MAC addresses, look at MAC addresses out in the physical network, and then keep our tables up here, and you can literally create multiple virtual switches on one ESX server, virtual switches across other ESX servers, and that's fine and dandy because now you can start networking your virtual machines together, you can start connecting them to the outside world. But you see, when I start doing multiple virtual switches, that they can start to get messy here. Just like having multiple ESX servers and manage individually until you stick this virtual center in front of it to aggregate it for you. So we came along and we said, well, actually you came along and said, well, one of the problems I have with virtual switches is the fact that when I vMotion from here to here, my virtual machine moves to a different network. But we're like, not quite. You have shared physical networking, so you're taking care of that side of it. What you have to do over here is make sure that you've created a virtual switch on this ESX server that's identical to this virtual switch on this ESX server. If you haven't done that, why yes, when you move your virtual machine, it will get kicked off the network, and that pretty much negates the benefits of vMotion, because the benefit is zero downtime. So you said, okay, that's fine and dandy. I can manually do that. I'll create multiple virtual switches across these ESX servers, but you know what? It's getting old. I'm tired of keeping track of all that. What can you do for me, VMware, to automate that? And we said, all right, we're going to create something called the distributed virtual switch, or the virtual distributed switch. We argue about this. I'll just say DVS here. And the idea behind the distributed virtual switch is you just simply logically say, that table of MAC addresses is pretty much, it is very difficult to draw here, but basically it's logically kept across all the ESX servers so that fundamentally you don't think of discrete boxes, you just think of all your ESX servers aggregated as one giant switch for your virtual machines across all these hypervisors. So the distributed virtual switch is just this big logical switch across all your servers. So now you just say, I don't care where I'm running my virtual machines. They're still on the same network. That opens up all kinds of doors for us, because now we can spawn instantaneous ports on that, or not so much, yeah, we can spawn instantaneous ports on that switch. We can spawn ports and give them VLANs on that switch. And we can start to create network pools because we can do that. If I can have 1,000 VLAN IDs and I can spawn 1,000 ports, I can create a pool of 1,000 separate networks that I can use at a particular time when I need it. So now we've got pool storage, pool processor memory, pools of ports, pools of networks that we can spawn. All of this stuff instantaneously in the virtual world. I have 13 minutes now to build my cloud. Let's do it. You think of physical, abstracted by the hypervisor, bring it up into virtual, aggregate it, pull it. Now you get a giant pool of resources. You say, all right, I understand. These are why I need to use these things. Complexity taken care of, virtual center, front door of our virtualized data center. Virtual center is the foreman that I want to talk to for my solutions. I don't want to think about this complexity anymore. I just want to think about cloud. So I say, put that complexity aside and think, wow, if I've got virtual center out here as the front door of my virtualized data center, and I've got all these pooled resources down here, all I have to think about is I've got a pool of storage, I've got a pool of processor, I've got a pool of memory, and I've got network pools here. And maybe I've got ESX servers that are fast performing, they've been designed to be really redundant and protect all my data, and they were really expensive to build and put together, so I've got a cluster of ESX servers that are the best. Well, I'm going to call this my platinum pool. And maybe I've got older ESX servers back in a consolidation game that I've simply said, yeah, I'll repurpose them, I'll use them, I'll build a cluster of servers, but I'm not going to put as much money into them, they're not going to perform as well, and maybe they'll crash and what have you, more so, but I don't care because I'm going to call this my bronze cluster and turn this into my bronze pool, and my developers can work here because it's not production stuff. So now I've got these two clusters of ESX servers that have just basically been turned into pools of resources, and I think, all right, I got terabyte of storage here, and I'll say 5 terabytes of storage and 128 gigahertz of processing power, and 356 gigabytes of memory. And over here, and networks I'm not going to worry about at this point. Give some time other than their pools. I got 2 terabytes of storage, 10 gigahertz of processing power, 5 gigabytes, 32 gigabytes of memory, and network. And I just think, again, in terms of logical, numeric values of resources that eventually I'm going to run my virtual machines on. Now, I want to build this into a cloud. And I know that Virtual Center is in front of my virtualized data center here. And looking at the bullseye over there, I know that I'm building solutions out of those properties of virtualization and platform of virtualization. First thing I'm going to say is Virtual Center and ESX server combined, that's what we call vSphere. That's the basis of all this. Okay, so that's what I've described to you. Now vSphere says you got Virtual Center as the front door of your virtualized data center. Now you want to tack a solution on that. Well, what solution do you want to tack onto that? Let's give you an example to show you what's going on here. Solution. View. Virtual desktop infrastructure. View says, well, I'm a brain that is simply focused on the purpose of making sure that I have desktops for my end users. So, tell you what, you tell me, View, what you want. Well, I got a company of 100 people. I want them to be able to log in. I want you to build a virtual machine for them instantaneously, and then route them remotely to that virtual machine. That's their remote desktop. Well, View says, all right, I'll let you come to me with Internet Explorer, and I'll allow you to logically put together this pool of desktops that you want to see created. And I will talk to Virtual Center. I will talk to the foreman of the virtualization factory here, and Virtual Center will say, okay, I will go to those ESX servers and I'll take your image machine and I'll clone it 100 times, and we'll allow those desktops are built, they're ready to be used, and then your end user comes in and you go to the View server and they say, well, I want to get to my desktop, it validates the Active Directory, says, well, yes, you are a user, and it routes them to their virtual machine. No, I'm just tacking a solution onto the front end here. That's the idea I want to get across here. Tagging solutions on your concentric circles and bullseye up there. So, How am I going to build cloud? I'm just going to attack a solution on here. I'm going to attach VMware Cloud Director onto the front of our virtualized data center. Now in the old days, it was Lab Manager. Remember Lab Manager? And we've had that conversation. Lab Manager is no more. It's now VMware Cloud Director. Lab Manager was a singular stack with that redundancy. What's that?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, bingo. We had that conversation. But anyways, VMware Cloud Director is built to be highly redundant in that, unlike Lab Manager, which was a single stack, I have a Lab Manager server, that's a virtual center server, I talk to it, and I give you Lab Manager, but if something crashes, have a nice day. Virtual Center now has Heartbeat to protect it, and VMware Cloud Director has a notion of cells, multiple VMware Cloud Director cells out here, boxes, individual boxes that don't talk to each other and talk to multiple Virtual Center servers, and lots of clusters out here, so that you just see a giant pool of resources out here, and you see a very redundant front end to get in and say, yes, I want to go to VMware Cloud Director and see cloud, and run my virtual machines in that cloud. Now we got to take VMware Cloud Director and say, Virtual Center Server, I need you to build some things for me. I will keep track of cloud constructs. I want you to keep track of virtual machines and networks and storage and all that. We're going to put the two together and we're going to build our cloud. So let's talk about the new cloud constructs. The new cloud constructs start with, yes, I like drawing stick figures, our happy user. But in this case, it's lots of happy users. We have to have multi-tenancy in the cloud. So we have to have the ability to have multiple organizations. Org 1, Org 2, Org 3. Those organizations could be marketing department, sales department, shipping and receiving department in a single company. That would be a private cloud. Or those organizations could literally be Trek, Cannondale, Specialized, different bike manufacturers, all running their virtual machines on the same set of physical equipment down here. The cloud, multi-tenancy, security at the hypervisor, remember isolation, property of isolation, but also security from the standpoint of we have something called vShield, which is our, I'm just going to call it quickly, our specialized virtual appliance that does firewalling between networks in our cloud to guarantee us this multi-tenancy between our organizations that are competing companies. So we have the concept of organizations in cloud. And these organizations are going to get their piece of these resources down here to run their virtual machines. And they're also going to be able to use Active Directory, either their own or one that I might give them if I'm a service provider of cloud. So first thing, organizations. Second thing is the concept of, all right, I've got these resources down here. I need to give these organizations just resources to run their virtual machines. Well, I'm Thor. I'm in charge of my cloud. I'm going to take these resources down here and I'm going to create a first layer called the Provider Virtual Data Center. And all I'm saying is these provider virtual data centers, based on these clusters, are simply exactly what you see down here. These resources that I want to carve up and give to my organizations to run their virtual machines. But I'm not going to let them go in at this level because I'm in control at this level of these resources to carve up. I'm going to let them go in at a level above that called the Organizational Virtual Data Center. And what I do with the Organizational Virtual Data Center, I say, look, Org 1, you have production needs to run some production virtual machines. You need 2 terabytes of storage. Well, guess what? I'll carve some of that off of our storage down here and I'll create an organizational virtual data center with 2 terabytes of storage. You need 32 gigahertz of processing power. Well, I'll give you 32 gigahertz of processing power from what's down here, and the rest it can be carved up and given to another organization. You need, I don't know, 56 gigabytes of memory for this one organization. I will carve up for you, 56 gigabytes of memory guaranteed based on these numeric values down here. And now you have an organizational virtual data center with those numeric values, and you can run your workloads in them. I switched from virtual machines to workloads. And then there's a method to that madness, and we'll come back to that. Organization 2, you might have similar needs, but guess what? you don't have production needs, you have development needs. So I'll create an organizational VDC for you here and carve up some processor, disk, and memory for you. And organizational one, and this is getting messy, intentionally so. Organization one, maybe you have some development needs, so I'll carve you another organizational virtual data center and map some of these resources to you such that bottom line is these are just numeric values. I can carve them up as I see fit. I start by saying I will create a provider virtual data center out of my cluster of ESX servers. And then above that, I'll just use the organizational virtual data center as a way to carve that up and give these resources to the people that want to use my cloud so that they can run their workloads in it. All they know is they have to log into Virtual Center and they see my workspace or my cloud and a place where they have a place to run their stuff, but they also see something else, and it's called a catalog. A catalog, hey, I'm real fan here. A catalog, I'm just going to draw it as whatever you want to call it here. A catalog is just a storage place for your organization.
Can you virtualize that?
I should stand behind it and do the rest of the presentation. So, a catalog is a place for you to store your virtual machines in your organization, but I don't want to call them virtual machines anymore. The bottom line is you've got resources to run your stuff. We've abstracted the physical, we've gone to the virtual, we said, tell you what, VCD is going to start carving that up and just give you resources to run where you don't have to think about all that complexity. Now we just got to show you what you're going to run in a cloud. And this is where we finally get to the meat of cloud. Good expression, the meat of cloud. So what I'm going to do, because we have a short amount of time left, is I'm going to move this aside. We're just going to do the rest on the board over here and talk about what goes in our cloud. So we've got that catalog, and you're like, well, what goes in that catalog? I'm like, well, not quite virtual machine. Something else goes into that catalog, and that's the notion of the V app. Well, what's a V app, you say? Well, let's think physical for a second. Just think computers network together for a moment. If I've got these three virtual machines all talking together on some network, and one is a database, one's an app server, one's a web server, and so on and so forth. And maybe there's a need for another network and another virtual machine, I don't know, some back-end something. The end user, all they care about is they get to their application. The application is, I'm not going to call it an application anymore, I'm going to call it a service. They only care about the service. Well, what's the service? Well, the service is the web server serving out something from the app server, which is getting its data from the database. If I cut this network connection, my service is down. If I kill this virtual machine, my service is down. If I kill this virtual machine, my service is down. Okay, so what's that tell me? It says, if I look at this aggregate, and I call that, whoop, and break my chalk, the V app, that's what I want to protect. That's what I want inside of my cloud as an entity inside my catalog. I want the entire V app. So I can have a single VM V app and check that out of my catalog and say there's a VM. But I don't want to refer to it as a VM anymore. I want to refer to it as a V app, a single VM V app. But I can have constructs like this, which represents an entire service. I want to be able to not just check that out of my catalog, make a duplicate of it. I want to be able to make multiple duplicates of it. Maybe for a lab, such as VMware Labs, this is what we use to spawn multiple labs for y'all when you're there instantaneously. I maybe want my developers to be able to work on it, check it back in the catalog. Maybe I want my developers to take two VApps and create a third VApp just by picking and pieces of virtual machines out of one or the other and putting them together and creating networks between them and then checking those in the catalogs. 2 more points to get this point across. I mean, to finish this whole cloud thing. One is, it's not about the complexity and the craziness anymore. That's still important. You still need to know that. But at this layer, in the cloud layer, it's about the content. it becomes so much more about the content. The ability to just spawn these things and build these things quickly for you from those catalogs makes it so much easier to just play with our stuff. If you can get the DCD and just start playing with it, you go, oh my gosh, I can do this so quickly versus having to build this all down here at the physical layer. So it's about the content now. And the second point is back to the technology, to go right back down to that vSphere and help you understand the big picture of what's going on here. When I spawn this VIA, and I say power on, I could go to a physical store and put those computers in front of you and network them together, and it would take weeks to do it. When I spawn the VIA, DCD talks to the performing Virtual Center. Virtual Center says, pull the storage, pull the processor memory, pulls the networks. I can quickly define my virtual machines. I can instantaneously build networks surrounding the virtual machines. Based on those network ports, based on the ports that I can create automatically in the VLANs that I can assign to those ports. I can on the virtual machines, I can build the networks, I can look at the aggregate and bring that back to the VMware cloud directory as the VIA instantaneously. You're the end user, all you know is you walk in the DCD, and say, here's my place to run my stuff. Use the numeric values, processor, memory, disk. I need a network. And here's my catalog, and I'm going to check this VIA on the catalog in my cloud, and I'm going to run it. There are multiple VIAs. I'm going to build VIAs, so I'm going to put a VIA into that production cloud and let it provide VIA service to my end user. So, coordinate over time. In a nutshell, I'm taking you from what is a virtual machine through our entire stack to what is cloud. And like I said, the insanity behind this is to say again and again, you need to go back and build at the beginning and build this stuff up and fill in the blanks. And I'm hoping that in the short time that we've had, some of you have said, oh, that's why I need to distribute virtual machines. Oh, that's why I need VRs. Oh, that's why I need to build a good vSphere infrastructure before I can get to cloud. And I'll stop there.